We're going to start with what I like to consider emotional warm-up. We're going to use our emotions, our emotional center, to study a few portraits by Rembrandt. At least one of them I've never shown. I think the other, if I've shown it, it's only once. And the third one, many of you will be familiar with. But the idea is that to read a painting, to read a portrait like this, read it in the sense of sensing what emotional state Rembrandt is in, happens to be in each of his portraits, requires our emotional center, because there are no words, right? There's no description, there's no knowledge, and so we're relying only on our emotional impression. Rembrandt is definitely considered one of the painters who was most prolific with self-portraiture. Not many painters left so many self-portraits and across such a long period of time, from the very early parts of his career and all the way to the end, as we will see. And so we kind of have an autobiographical book of his, really, but again, spoken in the emotional language, not in words, not in stories, not in anecdotes. A self-portrait means that the painter is standing in front of a painting for a long time. Several hours at the least, sometimes a few days. If so, because of course we cannot, nobody, I mean, with as much skill as a painter like Rembrandt may have, he cannot conjure up something like this in the space of 30 seconds or a minute. It's going to take him several hours. But at the same time, our state is never the same for several hours. You know what I mean? So if I stood in front of the mirror with the aim to paint myself today, and I see something, it's not going to be there 2, 3, 6 hours later. Therefore, I want to propose that our approach to these self-portraits not be, this is how Rembrandt looked when he was 23 years old, because that's naive, that's unrealistic. In one moment he looked like that, in the next moment he looked differently. Instead of that, I want our approach to be, this is what Rembrandt decided to show us of himself at the age of 23, at this moment in his life. Do you see the distinction? It's not a passport photo. It's a snapshot of a certain state that, of course, he's observing in himself because he is the object of his painting. With this in mind, I'd like to ask any of you, what do you feel he's trying to show us in this very unusual and one of the earliest self-portraits at the age of 23? What do you see? You can unmute yourselves and offer your impressions.
This time I see defiance.
Okay, defiance. Carlos, can I insist, knowing Carlos, that I cannot know better than you, yes, because he lived long ago and died long ago. Defiance of what, Carlos? What would you guess? Defiant of what?
I would say because as a young person, he feels he has a lifetime ahead of him.
Okay, interesting. What else? Anyone else?
I see a vulnerability, like it's like, yes, he's going to face who he is, but at the same time, all this shadow across his eyes is in somehow like he's wanting to stay hidden as well as being vulnerable. That's how I interpret it.
Yes, and very appropriate, Tamara. Right. He wants to see himself and he doesn't want to see himself, right? I mean, after all, this is a portrait of somebody who cannot see himself, right? I mean, he cannot see. He's in the dark. So, but at the same time, he's decided to portray himself. So there's a contradiction here, isn't there? Yes. Vulnerability, maybe even difficulty. Okay, very good. Jim, was it you that wanted to also offer something?
He said he looks like he's observing from the sidelines.
What do you mean by that?
He he's observing, he's not participating, not fully engaged,
Okay.
looking at life from a distance.
I see what you mean. Okay, yes. Removed. Any other suggestions? Anyone else,
I,
anyone
s-
have anything else to add?
I,
Yes, Gerald.
yeah, I see him trying to answer your question. What does he see? He's not sure what he sees. He's trying to figure it out.
Thank you, Gerald. Very good. Yes, you see, as much as we can know about a person, there's actually very little biographical information about him. There are his paintings, of course. There is his house in Amsterdam that some of us visited a few years ago, but there's not much information about his, or at least not a lot of information of his own. But it is tempting to take his life and especially his legacy of self-portraits as a kind of a passage, a journey that began somewhere and developed and opened up and ended in a certain point. It really lends itself to this. And if so, Gerald, then yes. If this is the beginning, if this is a person who has just joined this type of work and has learned the importance of self-observation and has taken that from a workshop and gone home with the aim, today I will observe myself, and then realizes, but how and who, and it's very difficult. I can hardly see anything. Then yes, I agree with what you say. He is asking himself the same question. What do I see? What can I see in myself? Assuming this is the beginning of of a certain kind of journey of self-exploration. Yes, assuming that the accumulation of self-portraits from the beginning through many in the middle till his last. On the right here is one of his last, or at least it's in the last year of his life. Assuming this is a journey, that there was some kind of a progression, especially in regard to being able to observe himself, I would like to correlate this to a biographical note by Peter of Spensky of the beginning of his journey. This is before he met the fourth way, before he met Gurdjieff. While he was seeking, he had a very strong magnetic center. Many of you probably know. He was traveling. He went to Egypt. He went to the Far East. He was looking for truth. He was dissatisfied with the way he was. And this is what he wrote about that period in his life. The predominant emotion in me was fear. Fear of losing myself. Fear of disappearing into something unknown. You get that a little bit in the portrait, don't you? I remember one phrase in a letter I wrote at the time. I am writing this letter to you, but who is going to write the next one, signing it with my name, and what he's going to say, I don't know. This was the fear. Somehow this quotation has often associated to me with this portrait. It's almost that you could alter it a little bit and put it in Rembrandt's mouth. I'm painting this portrait today, but who will paint the next one, signing it with my name? I have no idea. Good. We move on. So if he was 23 here, we move on to a portrait quite a bit later in life, at the age of 46. Take a moment to study this emotionally. Observe, by the way, how you are using your emotional center. This is one of those rarer situations where we can actually observe our emotional center. Usually difficult to observe. It's very fast. But here it's very clear. There's no writing. I'm not telling you anything. Any information you glean from this canvas is your emotional center reading emotions. What do you see on this face?
Something I notice quite immediately is how clear the eyes are painted. You can see how much definition he's put into the lighting and the reflection in them. And I get the feeling that he's trying to show that his vision is being trained. He focuses on the eyes because it's a faculty that he's developing. And he leaves the rest of his face more blurred, more in the shadows, but the eyes are very detailed.
Thanks, Rahil. Yes, definitely. And of course, definitely in comparison to the previous one. But yes. And the eyes are the main sense of a painter, aren't they? I mean, they have to be. And actually, a painter, even contemporary painters, they're incredibly observant. If you've ever associated with somebody, they see things different. First of all, they see things that one would miss, you know, the way the light falls on something, or the way a certain shape is shaped curiously. They notice things, that's their job. And then, of course, this is their main, you can take anything else from them, any other sense, they would still be able to paint, but take the sense of sight and you've killed their talent, their art. So yes, Rahil, thank you. Very clear that his eyes are very, very much in focus in comparison to the rest. What other emotional impressions do you have, any of you, about this? What is he? Remember this idea that this is not how he looked for 6 straight hours standing in front of the mirror. This is what he wanted to show. This is what he wanted to capture. What else does he want to capture here?
I see suffering. So, like, he's lived through something that's painful.
I agree, Tamara. But a question to you, Tamara, because suffering is a central thing in our teaching. Do all people look like this? So, or let me say, Tamara, everyone suffers, yes? Everyone in life suffers. Suffering is not unique to people who work on themselves. And people in life have terrible challenges, you know, of any kind. Do they all look like this when they suffer?
No, I mean, I think there's more of an acceptance. Some people will be like a woe is me type attitude, but he's more like very accepting of it. Yeah, this has happened and this is me, or because of me, or something that I'm, yeah, like an acceptance, I would say, without it being negativity.
Thanks, Tamara. I like that. Not only this is me, but this is because of me. It may be in the work that our greatest suffering is actually self-inflicted. Here I am doing the same thing once again, yes? After I've told myself I won't do it, and here I did it. Yes, I would actually say that's the chief source of suffering in this work. Yes, things happen, misfortunes happen, but they don't happen every day in the frequency that that our lower parts tend to rise up and overtake our better judgment and make decisions on our behalf that we then suffer, that we then suffer. And I like what you say, Tamara. He's trying to contain it because even inflicted suffering is not a justification for self-pity and self-deprecation. Oh, there I did it again. I'm not good for this work, and you know, that doesn't help. It's not transformation. And so I like what you say, Tamara, that he's trying to contain it. And I'd even say more, Tamara, maybe this is his way. Painting a portrait is his way of forcing himself to contain it. You see what I mean? So let's say he's done something terrible to himself. He comes in front of a mirror. He looks for the state that tries to contain it and not lament, not, you know, hurt himself and play himself down. And that's what he leaves on the canvas. And that's a very beautiful idea. We cannot know for certain, but it's a very beautiful idea by which to approach this.